happening that has never happened in the history of the marketplace. This is Jim Blasingame, and I want to tell you about an emerging new age, the age of the customer. For 10,000 years, businesses operated with age of the seller practices based on having control of customer relationships. But that age is being replaced by the age of the customer, which is creating forces that convey control from you to your customers. If your efforts aren't producing the same results as before, you might think it's an execution problem, but it's probably that you're using age of the seller practices when customers have age of the customer expectations. My new book, The Age of the Customer,
This is Kcaa Loma Linda, the station that leaves no listener behind. CNBC News is next, a courtesy of BuySellMakeOffer.com, where you can post a video about items you have for sale. Sign up now. It's free.
Busby, CNBC Radio. Shares of drug companies, big and small, taking some real hits today. That's after Democratic presidential frontrunner Hillary Clinton said she's coming out with a plan to take on the industry over what she calls price gouging in specialty drugs. The Dow today shooting up 125 points, even though Merck, Pfizer, and Johnson & Johnson shares all ended lower. The biotech-heavy NASDAQ adding just 1 point today. With record sales last month, Subaru expanding production at an auto plant in Indiana, looking to grow from a current 300,000 vehicles a year to 400,000 by 2017. Rising home prices getting the blame for a nearly 5% drop in sales of previously owned homes in August. That follows 3 months in a row of gains. Meantime, two of the nation's biggest single-family rental outfits, Starwood Waypoint and Colony American Homes, are joining forces, betting that rents will be going higher, especially if more people can't afford to buy. Tom Busby, CNBC.
If you're without dental insurance, do you have a plan to care for your teeth without spending a fortune? We do. Introducing Dental Plans. Dental Plans takes a bite out of your dental bills with savings from 10 to 60%.
There's no reason to not cut your dental bills in half.
Join Dental Plans today and save 15% off any plan with promo code DENTAL981. Plus, get 1 month free. Visit dentalplans.com or call 800-391-DENTAL. Savings plans are not insurance. Consult with plan detail page for additional plan terms. Not all plans and offers available in all markets.
There are no guarantees in love, but there is a guarantee from EH Plus by eHarmony, our new personal matchmaking service. At EH Plus, your own personal matchmaker gets to know you so well, we can guarantee introductions that will be satisfying and exciting. EH Plus goes far beyond regular online dating sites, and that's a guarantee. Visit us at ehplus.com/love or call 1-855-930-LOVE.
Consider this your invitation to sell. At BuySellMakeOffer.com, you can sell as much as you want for the next 60 days without paying any fees whatsoever. Sound incredible? It is, and it's true. BuySellMakeOffer.com is the new exciting way to sell your stuff online. Make extra money right now. Sell your old car, furniture, video games, household items, clothes, even your home. Sell anything that's legal. Load up your stuff to sell right now at BuySellMakeOffer.com. This is your official invitation to get on board to sell your stuff right now. Free for the next 60 days. And once you see how easy it is, you'll want to sign up for more because there are no item fees. That's right. Take this opportunity to move items from the other guys and sell it for free. You might even win a Samsung tablet, Amazon gift cards, and other cool prizes. BuySellMakeOffer.com is the future of online selling. You can use Skype to talk to your buyer or seller. Plus, you can use video to showcase your items. BuySellMakeOffer.com.
Good afternoon. It's a couple of minutes past the hour. I'm Successful Brim with the latest in local news on KCAA 1050 AM. A father who survived an apartment fire that killed his 2 children has pleaded not guilty to a series of charges, including involuntary manslaughter and causing a fire with greatly bodily injury. 47-year-old Efrain Suarez is held in lieu of a $400,000 bail. Suarez was severely burned while trying to rescue the children, aged 6 and 2, from their apartment last November. Suarez, his wife, and their children had been evicted from the apartment because of code enforcement violations. Investigators say that the family's living conditions contributed to the fire. And a Nevada company that has labored for a decade to connect Southern California and the Las Vegas Strip via a high-speed train is hoping help from a Chinese firm will get the project on track. Las Vegas-based Express West said yesterday it has partnered with a newly formed company called China Railway International to build the line. China's high-speed rail network has seen explosive explosive growth in recent years as the nation's economy boomed. The project has not broken ground yet. It currently has the approval of regulations to cover about 190 miles from Las Vegas to Victorville. And there's a proposed station in Palmdale as well. Inland Empire weather, cloudy, highs near the mid-90s, lows tonight about 68. Currently it's 92 degrees in San Bernardino. That's the latest in local news. I'm Successful Brim on KCAA 1050 AM. This report is brought to you by SoCal Honda Dealers. Right now you can get great deals on award-winning Hondas. Stop by your local helpful Honda dealer today to learn more or visit SoCalHondaDealers.com. And looking at your traffic at the I-15 is stop and go southbound between Oak Hill Road and Highway 138.
As the owner of my business, I wear a lot of hats. I'm accounting, sales, and so much more. But I don't know marketing.
Let Dex Media be your marketing department. Our team can create a digital plan for you with everything from search to social. Contact Dex Media, that's DEX Media, to get found, get chosen, and get talked about.
Whoa, that's a job for cleanup, which would be me.
Call 844-230-3436 or visit dexmedia.com today.
InfoTrack is the weekly show with information you should know. Hi everybody, this is Chris Whitting inviting you to join me and the InfoTrack team as we bring you interviews with top experts on a world of fascinating topics that affect your life, your family, your home, your finances, your health, and much more. That's InfoTrack.
Sundays at 6 a.m.
Right here on CNBC KCAA 1050 AM, the station that leaves no listener behind.
Welcome to Foster to Foster, and now here's your host, Dr. Anissa McNeil.
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Anissa McNeil, and welcome to Foster Radio Show. This is a show that highlights the questions that are asked by our foster youth in our community. Today, we're going to answer the question, who can help me at school? And where should I go? Those were the two questions that was asked by a foster youth in our community. And today on our show, we're going to talk about it, and we're going to answer those questions for a young person in our community. In 2013, the state of California passed the largest finance reform in the state of California schools. What happened is the state of California passed what we call the LCFF, Local Control Finance Funding. And in that passing of that state law for school funding, our state chose to identify foster youth as a category in which they provide special funding to schools. So for the first time in the state of California, all of our public K through 12 schools have to identify a specific goal in which they're going to meet the needs of foster youth. So it's very relevant when a student asks me, Dr. McNeil, who can help me at school and where should I go? Today we want to know exactly how many foster youth are in our public schools today. In LA County, according to kidsdata.org, there are 20,651 foster youth. In San Bernardino County, there are 4,869. In Riverside County, there are 4,721. In Orange County, there's 2,389. Yes, we have a large population of children that are in foster care. We have just slightly over 34,000 here in Southern California. Statewide, in the state of California, we have approximately 61,000 children that are in foster care. So let's go a little bit closer to home. Let's talk about our community here in Southern California. Of those students, how many of them are in exit foster care? Of the number that I gave you in Los Angeles, out of 20,651 children, 1,800 will exit in 4 years. In San Bernardino County, Of the 4,869 children, only 399 will exit foster care. In Riverside, 4,721 children are in foster care. 179 of them will exit foster care in 4 years. And in Orange County, there are 2,389 children in foster care, and only 193 of them will exit. Yes, only 2,588 children out of the over 30,000 children that we have in foster care here in Southern California will exit foster care in 4 years. That leaves a tremendous amount of children that are enrolled in our public school system to receive the education services so that they too will thrive and flourish in our society. So then we must ask ourselves, what qualifies someone as a foster youth? Well, I wanted to bring that point a little bit closer to home. I wanted to bring in some experts and individuals that deal directly day to day with foster youth that are in our schools. One of the largest counties here in the Inland Empire that has 4,869 students is San Bernardino County. And here today in the studio with me, I have Mrs. Angela Euclides and Miss Laura Strachan. They are here from the San Bernardino Unified School District, and they provide direct service to students. Good afternoon, Angela. Good afternoon, Laura. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
So, Laura, I would like for you to introduce yourself to our listening audience. Could you tell us your title and exactly what you do at the San Bernardino Unified School District?
My name is Angela Euclides, and I am a principal on assignment, and I'm currently overseeing our foster youth and our homeless education programs. And I was put into this program in January by our school board. So I wanted to recognize our leadership of Dr. Marsden, our superintendent, my direct supervisor, the assistant superintendent of student services, Dr. Mitchell, and our school board and cabinet for seeing the importance of this position and being the first in the county actually to have this position as an administrative assignment for our foster youth.
That's why I'm so thrilled to have you all here in the studio with me, because it came to my awareness that you were the first in the county to implement this. I'm also thrilled to have you, Angela, for a very different reason. You and I share something in common. I was a foster child, and I understand that you were a foster child as well.
Yes. When I was a toddler, my mom and I were homeless, and she unfortunately suffered from mental health issues. And so we were in Los Angeles County, and I was placed here in San Bernardino County, actually, where I grew up in San Bernardino City Unified School District, attended our schools, and I was raised in a home where we continued to take foster youth until I was well into adulthood.
Wonderful. It's so wonderful to have you here
Thank
on
you.
Foster to Foster. We're really living that out today.
Thank you. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you. And also, we have a very special guest with us today, Laura. Could you please introduce yourself to our listening audience and tell them your position and what service you provide to San Bernardino Unified School District?
My name is Laura Strachan, and I am the Director of Alternative Programs, and I'm also over all of our counseling. And we are lucky enough to have a board and superintendent that support all counseling programs, and we are lucky enough to be one of the only schools districts that have elementary counselors at every school site. And so in working with our counselors, we can provide support for our most neediest children and make sure they don't fall through the cracks.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, Angela, let's answer this question for our listening audience. We know that our state has passed this revolutionary funding model called the LCFF. And part of that model is focused on providing education services specifically to foster youth. How do we define who is a foster child within the education system?
Well, under LCFF, they have a very defined formula for who is served as a foster youth, and those are students who have an open 300 case under the Welfare and Institution Code, as well as an open 602 case. So those would be youth that violated the law and were removed from the home, and those can consist of students who are an out-of-home placement, but it can also be students who are on family maintenance and are still in the home and being provided services through Children and Family Services with a social worker.
Okay. And what is a foster ID number? Where do they get that concept from?
I believe it's the identifying number that all youth have that identifies them as a foster youth.
Yes, that comes from their case assignment number. And so those numbers are used to validate or to identify them as foster youth under our new funding model. When you are identified as a foster youth in the San Bernardino Unified School District, what happens after that?
Well, I get the information that the foster youth has enrolled in our city schools, and we coordinate with county schools, foster support services, and CFS to determine the appropriate programs and supports that they need.
Awesome. We're going to go to a short break, and when we come back, we're going to find out all of the wonderful services that San Bernardino Unified School District has put in place. This is Dr. Anissa McNeil, and you're listening to Foster to Foster Radio Show.
Appointed Special Advocates for Children is having their 8th annual Munchin at the Mansion September 30th. Come out and enjoy live entertainment, raffles, and more. Kcaa will be holding the event at Edwards Mansion, located at 2064 Orange Tree Lane in Redlands, California. Doors open at 5:30. Tickets are $50 for individuals, $90 for couples, and $350 for a table of 8. Proceeds from this year's event will help support foster youth and the youth on probation throughout our community by providing mentorship, supportive relationships, and the chance to build positive memories throughout the appointment of Kcaa volunteers. Be sure to come out to eat, drink, and enjoy giving. For more information, log on to KcaaOFSB.org or call 909-881-6760. Again, 909-881-6760.
Education Works consulting firm provides foster youth education services. We work to make sure that every foster youth has a chance by providing a way through education. Please visit us at edworks4u.org or call our offices at 213-634-0044. Education works for all of us.
Education Works Consulting Firm, Inc. Foster Youth Education Services. Listen, educate, protect. In 2014, the California Department of Education reported that there are approximately 60,000 foster youth in California. Only 50% will receive a high school diploma, of which 10% will go on to college. However, an alarming 3% of foster youth will complete college. Our team of educational consultants provide education rights holders, parents, guardians, and organizations for foster youth, including education assessment, closing the gap services, collaboration and connection services, academic enhancements, workshops, and trainings. We have partnered with local foundations and legal organizations to provide these services. Our goal is to work together to improve the education outcomes for youth in foster care.
Let's head back to Foster with your host, Dr. Anissa McNeil.
Hi, this is Dr. McNeil. Welcome back to Foster Radio Show. One of the stories that I heard from a foster youth is, I'm on my school campus. I don't know where to go. I've recently been taken away from my family and I'm in a group home. Can somebody help me when I'm at school? Can somebody help me learn what I need to learn? And that student happened to be one of my Kcaa kids that said, Dr. McNeil, I just want somebody to help me when I'm at school. And I want them to know that I'm a foster kid. Like, I don't live at home. Mm-hmm. So, Angela, can you tell us a little bit about San Bernardino Unified School Districts, because your district was one of the first districts that heard of our new funding model here in the state of California, and you all really embraced it and ran with it. So can you tell me a little bit, if my previous Kcaa kid were to arrive in your program, and that Kcaa kid, we're going to use this scenario, that Kcaa kid lives in a group home. Tell me some of the services that kid would receive.
So I guess it would just depend on whether it was an elementary, middle, or high school student.
Okay.
Depending on
Tell me a little bit about what happens in elementary school.
In elementary school, each elementary school is fortunate enough to have a counselor. We're one of the only districts that provides that service. And we also have community liaisons, community resource workers that are a direct connection between the community and our school site to provide direct services for the community. So I've worked with Laura, collaborating with her, worked with counselors and also with our community resource liaisons to create, depending on the child's situation, different supports and resources that would be available for that child.
Can you tell us, what is the community liaison? What are their roles and responsibilities?
The community liaison is the person that connects the different resources in the community to the site and connects those services to families and children. So with San Bernardino, our demographics vary depending on if you're the east side, the west side, the north, or the south side. So all of the needs at each school are going to be completely different. So based on the needs of those students at that site or individual cases, then the community liaison would provide supports to community resources. The counselors also, and I'll let Laura talk about this a little bit, we also contract through different agencies for outside counseling.
Wonderful. Laura, can you tell us a little bit about the counseling programs that you have in your elementary schools?
Our elementary school, our counseling is quite comprehensive. We do have an elementary school counselor. Again, it will depend on the needs of the child. Again, we would hope that Angela's office, we would be able to communicate. Angela's office will let us know if we have a foster youth. That child will be called in. You had mentioned not having to tell the story or seek help. Our goal is that we are there welcoming the child and offering assistance right away. So the child does not have to know where to look or to ask. We're going to provide it right away. And so say in your instance, if one of your students came into one of our elementary schools, I realize that they would be, that's a little bit younger than we discussed, but the counselor would meet with them and see what their needs are, whether it be, we don't have transcripts from another site. We may have not enough school supplies for whatever reason, may have had difficulties prior. So to see what the needs are. And then as they work with the child, if is there mental health issues that need help, we will refer out for wraparound services with our county contract agencies.
So that's wonderful, Laura, to really hear that, because working with foster youth for the last 12, 15 years, you hear all the time, Dr. McNeil, do I really have to tell my story over and over again? I tell it to the social worker. I tell it to my attorney. I tell it to my counselor. I tell it to my teacher. So I think that that's wonderful that in your school district, that foster youth does not have to tell their story again between Angela's office and at the actual school site and working with the counselor. So if you are an elementary school foster youth and you attend a school in the San Bernardino Unified School District, you can know that you don't have to retell your story, that Miss Angela is here and her office has that information or a little bit of that information from the court. And then you can walk into your school, and if you need counseling or if you need help, then you work with your counselor and you can get help. If I understand you correctly, also at the elementary level, there are community liaisons. So one of the things that a foster youth can do in elementary school, if you need a little bit more help, be sure to speak up and tell your teacher or your counselor, I need help with a backpack, or I need help with I don't feel good. I don't feel good on the inside. Or I just feel sad today. All of those things are great things to say. It's wonderful. It's okay to say to your teacher or to the counselor at your school. So I'm so glad to hear that that service is coordinated in your school district. I'm really ecstatic that you guys are here, because this is a service that will really help. If you can only imagine being a foster youth and having something very traumatic happen to you, one of the things that you dread the most is having to retell that story over and over again. And I have to be quite honest with you. I didn't retell my story until I had gray hair. So can you imagine being a young person and being asked to retell your story? That's great. Mm-hmm. Now let's continue. Let's talk a little bit about a foster youth that may be in middle school, Angela. If I'm a foster youth in middle school, how can you help me, and where should I go?
Well, we're excited because currently, as we speak, we are working on designating a single point of contact at each of our middle and high schools that will be one of our high school counselors that sees that as their passion, that they really want to reach out to our students and help support them with that.
Wonderful. So in that point of contact, can you describe that for our listening audience? Paint a picture of who is that person? What will they do on that middle school campus?
You want to say a little bit, or you want to?
Sure. On a middle school campus, again, if it was one of our counselors, it would be the same type of thing, that we were welcoming the student. We would know in advance, and we would go ahead and call that student in before they had to seek help, to let them know that we're there to help them, anything we need, and ask if there's anything they need assistance. We would also be monitoring grades, working with the home, calling in the student to make sure they're doing okay, and again, also look for any other assistance they may need with supplies, health needs, mental health services, anything like that. So basically being that point of contact for all of the services.
So that's wonderful, Laura. I hear you say that you're going to call the student in, you're going to monitor their grades, you're going to work with the home, you're going to make sure that they're attending school. Any of those things that we know from the research and from all the information that we have, that foster youth, if they're not attending school, if they're not performing well in school, that they need another set of eyes and ears on campus to help them make sure that they're doing well, not because they can't do the work, but because there may be other challenges that they face that someone who is not in foster care may not face. So that's awesome. And it's great to know that that person will reach out to them. Awesome. Mm-hmm. So now let's talk about the highest level in K through 12, which is the high school level. Tell us a little bit about, or describe some of the services that are happening in San Bernardino Unified High Schools.
Again, kind of the same things that Laura talked about. This counselor would be the person in charge of the child's educational plan. So where are they at currently with their credits? Where are they at with their E through G requirements? Are they on track to graduate? Are they on track to be able to go to a four-year university? We also know with the research that our foster youth are more successful when they feel connected and into a program in the school, and they feel a part of it. And so that counselor would be the person that would help monitor that child and get them connected to the clubs and the extracurricular, and feel like the little community, and feel a part of the school, feel that connection.
Wonderful. Angela, do you guys have anything in place? Like, what happens if little Anissa is on your high school campus and I'm not quite connected? This is high school. I keep hearing my social workers say that I'm going to exit foster care. I'm going to go to transition service. I may even not live in the same group home that I've lived in for all of these years. I just may be a little afraid and not connected. Who can that foster youth go to see in high school?
Well, that is something actually that I'm currently working with at this time. Working with some students who they're going to be 18 before they graduate from high school, and they are not really sure what's going to happen. And so I've been working with the social workers, so I've been reaching out to those students. I've been monitoring my juniors and seniors. And working with the social workers to be a part of their transitional conference. Our students can be a part of ILP, which is the Independent Living Program through the Department of Children's Family family services and get an ILP worker, and they will help them with that transition and get them, if they want to be a part of AB 12 in the extended foster care, then they will get them set up and get them connected so that they can enter that program and then transition successfully into being independent.
Okay. Yes. For our listeners out there, AB 12 is the state of California's law that if you are in foster care and you are 18 to 21 years old, you can still continue to receive support and services through the state of California. Also, we want to talk a little bit about, I want to tell you about one of my foster kids, AC. AC was a high school student, and he was not doing very well. And he began to perform very poorly in high school. He was not connected. He ended up not graduating and not pursuing other things in life. And so when we come back from our break, we want to talk about what are some of those support services, because this is huge in foster care. When you turn 18, are you going to, what happens to you next? What's next? So when we return from our break, we're going to hear what happens next from 12th grade on. This is Dr. Anissa McNeil, and you're listening to Foster Radio.
The court-appointed Special Advocates for Children is having their 8th annual Munchin at the Mansion, September 30th. Come out and enjoy live entertainment, raffles, and more. Kcaa will be holding the event at Edwards Mansion, located at 2064 Orange Tree Lane in Redlands, California. Doors open at 5:30. Tickets are $50 for individuals, $90 for couples, and $350 for a table of 8. Proceeds from this year's event will help support foster youth and the youth on probation throughout our community by providing mentorship, supportive relationships, and the chance to build positive memories throughout the appointment of Kcaa volunteers. Be sure to come out to eat, drink, and enjoy giving. For more information, log on to KcaaOFSB.org or call 909-881-6760. Again, 909-881-6760.
Education Works consulting firm provides foster youth education services. We work to make sure that every foster youth has a chance by providing a way through education. Please visit us at edworks4u.org or call our offices at 213-634-0044. Education works for all of us.
Education Works Consulting Firm, Inc. Foster Youth Education Services. Listen, educate, protect. In 2014, the California Department of Education reported that there are approximately 60,000 foster youth in California. Only 50% will receive a high school diploma, of which 10% will go on to college. However, an alarming 3% of foster youth will complete college. Our team of educational consultants provide education rights holders, parents, guardians, and organizations for foster youth, including education assessment, closing the gap services, collaboration and connection services, academic enhancements, workshops, and trainings. We have partnered with local foundations and legal organizations to provide these services. Our goal is to work together to improve the education outcomes for youth in foster care.
We're back to Foster with your host, Dr. Anissa McNeil.
Welcome back to Foster Radio. This is Dr. Anissa McNeil. We're going to jump back into our conversation here with Angela. We were talking about, Angela, how you provide support to high school students that really are credit deficient. They don't have enough credits to graduate. They may not be that motivated to continue. And they may have a great fear, this fear of now I am 18, now I am grown. Yes, I'm going to get an ILP worker, but I don't know about ILP. Can you tell us how your school district, because you're kind of in the forefront of this, tell us some of the things that your school district are putting into place or have put into place to support that young person?
Well, for the student that you just described that maybe doesn't have enough credits to graduate, doesn't know if they're going to graduate, the counselors would look at all of the readily available programs that we have, and Laura is in charge of our alternative programs. So maybe I'll have her speak just really briefly about the kinds of programs that we might look at and see if the child would fit into so they could graduate on time.
Sure.
Sometimes with foster youth, we do look at whether they need a smaller setting. Like you said, if they've moved around a lot or they're, changing homes and may not know very many people, we do have smaller settings. Our continuation schools are fantastic locations with about 400 to 500 students so that they can get that personal attention from the staff. They can also get their credits caught up and get back to their regular school and graduate if they like, or they can graduate from there as well. We do have credit recovery on the school sites too, so the counselor will really look at the student's situation, look at what's best for the student based on their personality, whether they're coming. Sometimes a change in placement, one connection can be enough to make a student come to school. And so that's what we really push on the school sites right now too, is that connectiveness and making the relationships with the students and letting them know that you care. That's sometimes enough to change things for a student, even if it's one person. So we're working on that as well. But they will take a look at all those pieces, discuss with the student what's best for them, and we look at the placement for them.
Sure. And I know we just started this in 2013, but has your district looked at any of the programs that they put into place and how successful they've been? Or is this so new that you all don't have that data right now?
Are you talking about the alternative programs or?
I would say your foster youth.
Okay. So when I started back in March, about April, I got some data that really wasn't even baseline data because we in the past haven't even been really that great at identifying accurately our foster youth. And so one of the first things that we decided to do when I started was to coordinate with IT and look at our state and our county and our district data systems and how can we make those data systems more accurate and be able to identify our foster youth even more efficiently. So that was the first thing that we did. So we are looking at this year more as our baseline as far as where our kids are going to be and then where we're going to move forward from there.
That's wonderful because one of the concerns that I've had all of these years working with foster youth is they were under the radar.
Right.
Many schools didn't know who they were. It was hard to track. We had to put federal and state legislation in to say when they move from school to school that you're required to enroll them right away and have all of their information on board. Can you imagine that in the state of California, we had 60,000 children that schools were not able to identify? They don't know exactly where they are or what they're doing. So I'm very pleased that here in the state of California, we are taking a laser lens to look at who our foster youth are, what school they're enrolled in, what services they're getting, what type of education they're getting. Are they on track to graduate? You have to know that LCFF is a groundbreaking funding legislation, and it's going to help foster youth like never before. Everyone that provides service, if you've been involved with foster youth for a number of years, you kind of feel like the rainbow is shining on us, or that we're finally in the limelight because all of this funding is being geared around foster youth. Right. So with that, Angela, can you tell us a little bit, now that this is going on in your district, what are some of the questions that you're getting?
Well, I did also want to state with the legislation, one of the major positive things that has happened with that is that it has forced all of the government agencies to communicate and collaborate.
Yes.
And I think here in San Bernardino County, we are doing an amazing job with that. I go to different advisory council meetings just on foster youth, and you have everybody in that room from CFS to we have educational liaisons, you have county schools, you have our group homes, you have the district, you have community organizations, you have Kcaa, everyone in the room.
Community colleges?
Yes, that are looking at how are we going to work together to improve educational outcomes for our students. So I think that is huge, the fact that we are now talking to each other. And I get calls all the time from social workers or educational liaisons, and I'm constantly calling them to ask, about open cases and ed right holders. And, before that just didn't happen. it wasn't on our radar, and it wasn't that we didn't care. Once it now is on educators' radar, they truly want to know what they can do to help foster youth. They're constantly principals calling me, teachers calling me, asking me to come to their sites and train them and let them know what they can do to support their foster youth.
So now that you have this huge state of inquiry around you, who are these kids? How can we help? What information is out there? Can you tell us a little bit about how you're meeting the needs of that? How are you getting the information out about the needs and the information to better serve foster youth? Can you tell us a little bit?
Sure. So in July, before the new school year started, I presented at our managers conference. So all of our district management leaders, over 300, were there, and I presented our current legislation, supports for our students at all different levels, just basically the statistics, the dire statistics of our kids, with 50% graduating from high school and 80% retained by third grade, and just honestly just that piece right there, that knowledge piece, for them to see. So many of them left with, I had no idea. Now what can I do? And for those of us that have been in foster care, it's been on our radar, so that's our normal, right? But it was an aha for me that this wasn't everybody's normal. It wasn't everybody's normal. And so just that awareness piece for them. And then I also for 2 months, I met with every department director and cabinet member in our district to discuss systems and supports for our foster youth. And then I was also working with county schools. The Foster Youth Support Services came out and did trainings for our staff on AB 167, 216, which we haven't even talked about, which is huge, right, for our kids. AB 490 and the partial credit model policy. Laura has been huge, because I'm an elementary school principal. So the high school piece has been a big learning curve for me. So her leadership and support and collaboration with the counselors, getting me to be able to meet with counselors, to answer questions, to discuss how we're going to implement this legislation, has just been absolutely huge.
Wonderful, wonderful. It's refreshing and also very scary when you think that this wasn't on our radar before.
I know.
It's refreshing that today, yes, it's on our radar, and we are charged and fully funded to do it. The fear is that we weren't on your radar before.
Right.
The fear is when the state of California changes this funding model, will we be on your radar again? So talk about, and it's too early to do this, and I'll probably do this a little later on our radio program. We're going to talk about the sustainability of this focus, the sustainability that every school in the state of California will focus on the outcome of foster youth. Because when you hear that as a former foster child, or even as an educator, that there are 60,000 students that only 50% of them graduated from high school. Of the 50% of them that graduated or didn't graduate, 50% of them became homeless. Of that same population, only 3% went to college. Of the 3% that went to college, 1% graduated. And we have such a huge recidivism rate of the number of foster youth that, one, have children, and their children re-enter the foster care system. Right. And so to think about that, and maybe for you and I, education was our way to surpass some of those statistics. But to think about that is really mind-shattering. And so I'm so glad that you guys are here today, because I want to keep this and all of these statistics on the heart and minds of our listeners and of our audience, to think that we have 60,000 foster youth in the state of California. And so let's band around them and let's see what we can do to make sure that they're fully educated and they can become productive citizens in our society. I want to take a little bit of time, because we are going to have a show that only highlights legislation. But I want to take a little bit of time, Angela, and I want you to highlight one piece of legislation that is helping you to move this forward in such a groundbreaking way here in the Inland Empire? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Oh, one piece of legislation. I would say AB 490 and AB 1933, which is tagged onto that, which really talks about allowing our children to stay in their school of origin.
And what legislation is that?
The AB 490 and AB 1933.
Okay, so AB 490 mandates that they are allowed to stay in their school of origin. So if I move from group home to group home to group home, I do have the right, according to AB 490, to stay in the first school that I was in.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so now talk about that second piece of legislation that's kind of tagged on to that.
Well, it just kind of goes into a little bit more detail in exactly the rights surrounding that component. And so one of the things that I did is I worked with my transportation department to create a system where if a child does move placements, that they can stay in their school of origin, but 1933 now says that they can matriculate to their feeder middle school and their feeder high school, even if they're not in that location.
So that they can stay connected.
Absolutely. Absolutely, that connected piece.
So if we talked about them staying connected, our foster youth staying connected to their school and their community, that's one way that they thrive and flourish. AB 490, it put it in place so that if you go to this elementary school, you can continue on with that local middle and high school. That's a wonderful piece of legislation.
Absolutely.
My name is Dr. Anissa McNeil, and you're listening to Foster to Foster Radio.
Court-appointed Special Advocates for Children is having their 8th annual Munchin at the Mansion September 30th. Come out and enjoy live entertainment, raffles, and more. Kcaa will be holding the event at Edwards Mansion, located at 2064 Orange Tree Lane in Redlands, California. Doors open at 5:30. Tickets are $50 for individuals, $90 for couples, and $350 for a table of 8. Proceeds from this year's event will help support foster youth and the youth on probation throughout our community by providing mentorship, supportive relationships, and the chance to build positive memories throughout the appointment of Kcaa volunteers. Be sure to come out to eat, drink, and enjoy giving. For more information, log on to KcaaOFSB.org or call 909-881-6760. Again, 909-881-6760.
Education Works Consulting Firm provides foster youth education services. We work to make sure that every foster youth has a chance by providing a way through education. Please visit us at edworks4u.org or call our offices at 213-634-0044. Education works for all of us.
Education Works Consulting Firm, Inc. Foster Youth Education Services. Listen, educate, protect. In 2014, the California Department of Education reported that there are approximately 60,000 foster youth in California. Only 50% will receive a high school diploma, of which 10% will go on to college. However, an alarming 3% of foster youth will complete college. Our team of educational consultants provide education rights holders, parents, guardians, and organizations for foster youth, including education assessment, closing the gap services, collaboration and connection services, academic enhancements, workshops, and trainings. We have partnered with local foundations and legal organizations to provide these services. Our goal is to work together to improve the education outcomes for youth in foster care.
Let's head back to Foster with your host, Dr. Anissa McNeil.
In 2013, the state of California passed the LCFF funding for all of our public schools K through 12. What a special funding model that looks at our foster youth specifically. It not only mandated that every school provide a goal for foster youth, but for their continual funding under this local funding model, they must also show that they are meeting that goal or working towards that goal. With that funding model, with that in mind, Angela, can you tell us of some of the things that are now some of priorities that foster youth resources that they have in your school district?
Well, as I had said before, once the San Bernardino City Unified District staff understood the challenges of our foster youth and what they're up against. We, through several discussions, have come up with some priorities that, for this particular program or that particular program, our foster youth will have top priority and first choice. And so one of those things being with our district police, they have an Explorer program for our middle and high school youth. And so in talking with my police chief, Chief Paulino, he maintain that foster youth have a priority in entrance to the Explorers, and that help with uniforms and fee cost would be helped with. Also, our adult ed help with fees for enrollment and enrolling for free, possibly on waivers. We rolled out a Chromebook initiative where the district purchased 5,000 Chromebooks, and we are lending these out to students with Wi-Fi access so they can have access to the internet and to a computer for their research and for their work. And foster youth were on the top of that priority list for those Chromebooks. For capping, we have sometimes we have an issue, especially in our elementary schools, where we are overcrowded, and so they cap out the kids that are the last enrolled. Well, my elementary principals were gracious enough to say, you know what, we're going to make our foster youth a priority, and we're not going to cap out our foster youth as part of ensuring that they stay in school, because of course they're going to be last enrolled, right? And so they also have priority access to our CAPS after school program. So they go to the top of the list. If there's any kind of list, they're at the very top for that. They have priority access to our SES tutoring. We have supplemental educational tutoring that is offered for free. And so foster youth have access to that as a first priority.
So Angela, now that you're going through all of these priorities for foster youth and what can make a difference in their education, can you tell our listening audience a little bit what made the difference for you? When you were in school, what made the difference for you?
Well, as I said, I went to San Bernardino City Schools, and I can specifically remember in middle and high school, I played sports, and I had coaches that really saw me and saw my strengths, and I felt connected to the school. So I went to Golden Valley, and I went to San Bernardino High School. And to this day, those are some of my best memories, because staff members took the time to make sure I felt connected and a part of that school.
Wonderful, wonderful. It's so nice to hear that San Bernardino City Unified School District has provided all of these priorities for foster youth. If you want more information on all of the services and supports that you can have, could you please provide our listeners with your website?
Absolutely. It's sbcusd.com.
If they wanted to contact you, how would they get in contact with you, Angela?
They can call my office. I am in the Family Resource Center, and that number is 880-4057.
Laura, if they wanted to inquire about alternative education or counseling services, how would they get in contact with you?
They'd be able to go through our website also, or they could call our office at 909-880-6766.
Okay. Thank you. So we know that you guys have targeted some programs for foster youth and that they have priority for those programs. Laura, can you tell us a little bit about any priorities or features that you have in alternative ed and counseling for foster youth?
Well, again, they would be priority placements as well. So if we have a foster youth that needs any type of credit recovery and alternative program, they would receive priority in placement based on space available. They would get the first spots. We would also have a counselor that specializes with their case at each of those schools as well. So they would be able to connect with the counselor of the prior school to continue the services already provided and then move forward on what else they needed. So we would have that as well. And as we move forward with having our specialized counselors at the high schools, we will be providing more training as to the different legislation that's been passed and what extra services are available, financial aid, different scholarships, and that type of thing, so that when they lead the student through their planning and what they want to do and what they want to be and what college they want to go to, they can more specialized help them say, okay, well, this scholarship is actually for you. You could use this scholarship. We could have this, and you have this financial aid, and these are the different programs we have available to you.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. That's helping them to receive a lot of information, the programs, the support, the services, providing information while they're there with you in K through 12, as well as providing some transition to where they may head next. Let's talk about a little bit, what about the foster youth that doesn't want to go to college? College is not the answer for everything. What types of services, what types of things do you offer to a college student that says, I want to be an electrician? I like that. I like that kind of stuff. What can they do?
Our counselors are also specialized, in addition to colleges, do know the different trade training in the area. We have an incredible adult school that has many certificate programs if they want to go into something that doesn't require college. Also with our community colleges, with the certificate programs they have. So our counselors are also very well versed in that. We do have a system called K16 Bridge that our students participate in, that it'll give them a career assessment and they're based on their interests. And it'll actually link them to college training and tell them what type of education they need to be in that career. And then the counselors can follow up to find that for them to make sure they have what they need.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Angela, any other programs that you'd like to share?
I just wanted to also let them know that we currently do have backpacks and supplies. So when a foster youth does come into our district and for whatever reason it wasn't decided for them to stay in their school of origin, and oftentimes they come with barely anything. So they can come to my office and get backpacks and school supplies.
I covered that in a previous show.
Oh, okay.
How foster youth move sometimes in trash bags, yes. And how when they arrive sometimes at schools, they arrive with the clothing on their back. And so we want to always highlight some of what we might consider something to be very small, like, oh, well, surely that if this child was going to move homes as well as move to a different school, surely the adults all around this child would have ensured that they move and have a backpack. Mm-hmm. So something as small as that is always a concern for a foster youth. Right. Can you imagine being a child? You've already lost your friends that were in your other home. You no longer go to your school. You arrive at a new school in a new city with a new teacher, and you don't have what you need in class. So you're the kid that everybody has to share paper with. Oh, do you have a pencil for Anissa? Do you have a pen for Anissa? It's highlighting that you're different. Right. And so thank you for mentioning that. Thank you for the opportunity to share that these things are happening. And that's something that we need to look at in our system to make sure that when they move from home to home and placement to placement, that they arrive with what they need.
Absolutely. And in addition to that, too, based on a needs assessment, we are able to provide them with clothing and shoes as well.
My. Can you imagine coming to a new school, a new city, perhaps, right, with new friends and a new teacher, your entire environment is new, right, and you don't have adequate clothing?
It's devastating.
We can do better.
Absolutely.
We can do better. And that's why we have this show, so that we can bring the information to our community, to our listening audience. If you are here in the Inland Empire, if you are close to San Bernardino City Unified School District, get involved. Go on their website. See some of the services that they have already put in place for foster youth. You heard them say that they have made foster youth a priority in many of the services there at their school district. Please log on to their website. If you are a foster parent, if you work in a group home, if you provide services to foster youth and you want to know how can my foster youth receive services within the San Bernardino Unified School District, I would admonish you to please visit their website at
sbcusd.com.
Wonderful. Go to their website and see all of the wonderful things that they have to offer. My name is Dr. Anissa McNeil, and I'm going to take a shameless 2-second plug. My organization, Education Works, my endowment fund, the Dr. Anissa Education Endowment, we are having a Betting on Education casino night. If you are in Los Angeles or in the surrounding area, please join us on Saturday, November the 14th at 6 to 10 p.m. at the Mamie Clayton Library and Museum. We're going to bet on education. Just like we're doing here in our studio today, we know that education is one of the vehicles that can change the lives of foster youth, and I want to have the opportunity to give away more scholarships this year. Last year, I was able to give away 3 scholarships. Why don't you come down and bet on education and help me give away 10 scholarships? And here's another shameless plug. I'm also the co-chair of the Day at the Races. Yes, Kcaa of Los Angeles is holding a Day at the Races on October 25th at noon at the Santa Anita Park. Would you please join us for a Day at the Races? It benefits our Glamour Gown and Suit Up project. Yes, every year our Glamour Gown Committee provides prom dresses and suits to foster youth in the Los Angeles area. Please come down to the Santa Anita Racetrack and enjoy a Day at the Races on October 25th. My name is Dr. Anissa McNeil, and this is Foster to Foster Radio. Thank you.
This is KCAA Loma Linda, the station that leaves no listener behind. CNBC News is next, a courtesy of BuySellMakeOffer.com, where you can post a video about items you have for sale. Sign up now. It's free.
CNBC Radio. Stocks kicking off the new week with some sizable gains, but not for drug makers. Those shares tanked today on worries about new regulations for the industry after Hillary Clinton said she's got a plan to combat what she called price gouging of specialty drugs. With that, the Dow was up 125 points, but Merck and Pfizer were the biggest decliners. The biotech-heavy NASDAQ added just